The war was finally over. The sky above the battlefield was dark, filled with smoke. Burned ships lay across the broken land. Fires still burned in the distance, but there was silence. No more fighting, no more screams. Only the sound of the wind. Moving through ash and metal. Captain Rain stood in the middle of the battlefield. His armor was scratched, blood-stained. His face was tired but calm. He had fought for 7 years. Now it was done. Behind him, soldiers cheered. The human alliance had won. The enemy, the Travax Empire, had fallen, and Rain, he was a hero, a living legend. Soon a group of alien nobles arrived. They wore long robes and golden masks. Their leader, Lord Vexor, walked forward with a smile. "Captain Rain," Vexor said, bowing slightly, "your bravery has brought peace. The Empire is defeated because of you." Rain didn't answer. He looked around, eyes cold. "Peace always came too late," Vexor continued. "As a gift from the High Council, you will be rewarded." Rain raised an eyebrow. "I don't need a reward." "Oh, but this is tradition," Vexor said. He turned and waved his hand. 2 guards stepped forward. Between them walked a girl. She was young. Maybe 19, thin, quiet. Her hands were chained. Her eyes were empty, skin pale, hair dark, face bruised. She did not speak. She did not look up. "She is yours now," Vexor said. "A highborn slave from the Travax bloodline. Beautiful, trained, untouched. A symbol of victory." Rain looked at the girl. Then he looked at the chains. The crowd around him watched in silence. Soldiers, aliens, politicians. They waited for him to accept her, to take her like so many others had done in the past. After every war, there was always a reward, but Rain didn't move. He stared at the girl for a long moment, then he spoke. His voice sharp and clear. "She is not mine," Vexor frowned. "You don't accept the gift?" "I said," Rain repeated, "she is not mine. She is free." Gasps came from the crowd. The girl lifted her head, shocked. "Captain," Vexor sighed, trying to smile. "Perhaps you don't understand. She is a reward, a trophy. You saved the galaxy. You can do whatever you want with her." Rain's eyes narrowed. "I don't take people as trophies, but it is law," Vexor snapped. "You cannot reject a council gift. To do so is to insult us." "And be insulted," Rain said. A silence fell across the field. Even the wind stopped for a moment. The guards held the girl tightly, unsure of what to do. She looked at Rain again, her lips slightly open. No one had ever spoken for her before. Rain stepped forward slowly. He looked into her eyes. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then she whispered, "Elia." Rain turned to the guards. "Take off her chains." The guards looked at Lord Vexor, confused. Vexor's eyes were burning with anger. "I said," Rain repeated louder. "Take off her chains." After a pause, the guards obeyed. The metal cuffs clicked open and fell to the ground. Elia stood still, like she couldn't believe it was real. Rain took off his long cloak and placed it over her shoulders. "You're safe now," he said quietly. Vexor stepped forward, face red. "You just broke a 1,000-year-old law, Captain." Rain didn't even look at him. "Then your law is broken." At that moment, the soldiers behind Rain lowered their weapons. His team stood with him, silent but firm. Vexor hissed, "You will regret this. The council will hear of your insult." Rain turned and walked away with Elia beside him. "Let them hear," he said as they walked toward his ship. Someone in the shadows watched them. A small tracking device was placed on the bottom of Rain's ship. A red light blinked once, then disappeared. It began with a message, not a long one. Not loud, just a few quiet words whispered across the stars. "The human has broken the law. He freed the reward." The words traveled fast, from planet to planet, from officer to emperor, from noble to criminal. Within hours, the galaxy knew. And just like that, Captain Rain became a problem, a lawbreaker. Inside the ship, Rain sat at the control panel, eyes focused, jaw tight. Elia sat near the back, wrapped in the cloak he gave her. She hadn't spoken much since they left. She didn't know how to feel. Was she free, or was this a trick? Rain looked at her in the mirror. "You okay?" he asked. Elia nodded slowly. Don't know. No one ever asked me that before, Rain sighed. You'll get used to it. Suddenly, the ship beeped. A red light flashed incoming. Messagerian tapped the screen. The face of a uniformed officer appeared. He was from the Human Alliance Council. Captain Rain, the officer said, you are ordered to return to base immediately. Why? Rain asked, pretending to be calm. You refused an official reward from the Galactic Council. That is considered disrespect. Possibly treason, Rain didn't answer. He stared at the screen. The officer added, and you freed property. That is a direct violation of interworld law. Rain shut the screen off. Elia looked at him. They're angry. They're furious. Will they come for me? Rain stood up. They won't touch you. Not while I'm alive. Elia stared at him. This human, he was different. And dangerous. Meanwhile, far away, in a dark room filled with alien voices, Lord Vexer spoke to the council. The human has insulted our honor, and worse. He took the girl. Another voice asked, why is that dangerous? Vexer leaned forward. Because she's not just a girl. She's from the old line. She carries the code. Silence fell over the room. Then she must be returned. Vexer smiled. She will be, and the human ... will be erased. Back on the ship, Rain flew toward a small moon. It was quiet there. A hidden place far from the busy stars. He landed inside an old base he once used during the war. The system still worked, mostly. He showed Elia around. This was a safe house. We'll stay here for now. Elia touched the cold metal walls. You were a soldier? I was, Rain said. And now I'm something else. A criminal? She asked, half smiling. He chuckled. Maybe a fool. She looked up at him. Why did you free me? Rain paused. His voice was quiet. Because you're not a thing. You're a person. That silence again, heavy, uncomfortable, but warm. Later that night, Rain was fixing the ship's sensors when he noticed something. A small blinking light underneath the engine. His eyes narrowed. A tracker. He cursed and ripped it off, throwing it across the floor. They're tracking us, he muttered. He turned to Elia. We have to move, now. But it was too late. Outside in the sky, a shadow moved. A ship. Fast, black, silent. Not military. Not official. A hunter. The ship shook as it took off again. Rain sat in the pilot's seat, flying low over the moon's surface. On the radar, the other ship followed close behind. They're gaining on us, Rain said. Elia sat beside him, watching the screen. Who are they? Bounty hunters, maybe worse. Suddenly, the enemy ship fired. The blast hit near the engines. Alarm screamed. Rain pulled the ship upward into open space. He activated the defense system. Guns turned. Shields lit up. Elia, he said. You ever used a turret before? She blinked. No. Today's a good day to learn. The space battle began. Lasers flashed across the stars. Rain flew like a ghost through an asteroid field. Elia fired back with shaking hands, her face tense but focused. They hit the enemy once. Twice, the enemy ship began to smoke, but didn't stop. Rain cursed. This one's good. At last, with one final blast, the hunter's ship exploded. Silent fire filled the sky. Rain leaned back, breathing hard. Elia sat frozen. Did we kill them? Rain checked the radar. Maybe. Just then, a voice came through the radio. It was the hunter. He was still alive. Weak, coughing, but alive. His final words chilled them both. You think she's just a girl? Fool, she's the key. And now they will come for you both. The signal went dead. Asterisk, the stars looked peaceful. But peace is a lie. Somewhere between two dead moons. Captain Rain's ship drifted in silence. The engines were off. The lights were dim. It looked like an empty ghost ship. Inside, they waited. Rain stood by the window, watching the stars. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He didn't trust the silence. Elia sat in the corner, hugging her knees. She wore a fresh set of clothes now, a plain shirt, boots, a warm jacket. Not beautiful, but free. Her hair was no longer tied back by chains. It fell over her face like a shadow. She was not used to silence either. Why are we hiding? She asked. Rain didn't turn around. Because someone's coming. 2 hours ago they had destroyed the bounty. Hunter's ship. But his last words still echoed in Rain's mind. She's the key. And now they will come for you both. What did that mean? Why was she the key? What secret did she carry? Rain didn't have answers, not yet, but he knew how the galaxy worked. When someone became valuable, someone else always came to collect. Suddenly. A beep, the ship's sensors came to life. A small dot appeared on the screen, moving fast, straight toward them. Elya stood up. Another ship? Rain nodded. Bigger, faster, not friendly. He pressed a few buttons. Still too far to see us, but they will soon. Elya looked nervous. Can we run? Maybe, but they're hunting us. If we run now, we'll leave a trail. Then what do we do? Rain looked at her. We don't run. We become the hunters. Rain flew the ship into a nearby asteroid field, a thick maze of rock and shadow, dangerous but useful. He shut down the engines again. Total silence. They floated like dust among the stones. The enemy ship entered the field. It was huge, black and silver. No lights, no name. Silent as death. Inside, the pilot scanned the field. Ship detected, he whispered to someone through his helmet. Coordinates locked, preparing for capture. But what he didn't know, Rain was already moving. Rain activated a small drone. It flew out, silent and fast, landing on the enemy ship's hull. On the screen inside Rain's ship, he could now see inside their cockpit. Two figures. One was a mercenary, the other something strange, a tall alien in a dark robe, face covered. Only glowing eyes could be seen. Elya stepped closer. Who is that? Rain didn't know. But the alien looked at the camera like he could see them watching. Rain turned off the feed. We're leaving, but now. The chase began. Rain's ship burst out of the asteroid field at full speed. The enemy followed, weapons hot. Rain flew fast, weaving between space debris and old satellites. Elya held onto the side rail. Her knuckles white. One blast missed them by inches. Another hit the left wing. Sparks flew. System screamed. Rain gritted his teeth. I need 5 more seconds. For what? He smiled. A trick. Ahead of them floated a dead cruiser. A giant warship from the old war, silent and broken. Rain flew straight toward it. The enemy followed. At the last moment, Rain turned the ship sideways and slid through a narrow gap in the cruiser's hull. Too narrow for the larger enemy ship. Crash. The enemy scraped the sides, alarms blaring. Inside Rain's ship, silence returned. He'd escaped. For now, they landed inside the old cruiser. Dust, darkness, cold air. Rain powered down everything. They had 5 minutes. Maybe less. Elya sat down, shaking. Why are they after me? Rain sat across from her. I don't know yet. But we need answers. She looked at him. You could leave me. If you do, they'll stop hunting you. Rain leaned forward. I won't leave you. Why? Because I've seen what people become when they look away from evil. Elya said nothing. But her eyes were wet. Suddenly, the ship lights flickered. Something was near. Rain stood and grabbed his blaster. He looked out the window, but no. Ship. No enemy, just darkness, then a whisper. Not in words. Not in sound. In his mind. She must return. You are in the way. Leave her or be destroyed. Rain staggered back. Elya looked at him. What is it? Rain stared at her. Did you hear that voice? She nodded slowly. It's familiar. I've heard it in my dreams since I was little. Rain's voice dropped. They're not after you because of what you've done. He looked down at her hands. Then at her eyes. They're after you because of what you are. Elya was dreaming, but it didn't feel like a dream. She stood in a room of white light. No walls, no roof, just space. Glowing. And in front of her was a mirror. In it, she saw her reflection, but it wasn't normal. Her eyes glowed silver. Her skin shimmered like glass. Symbols moved under her skin like writing in water. A voice spoke, soft and calm. You were made. Not born. She stepped back. Who are you? The mirror cracked. The voice grew louder. You are the key, and keys only exist to open doors. The light turned red. The mirror shattered. Elia woke up gasping. Sweat ran down her neck. Her hands were shaking. She looked around. She was still inside the old ship. Still with Rain, still hunted, but something had changed. Rain walked in with a steaming metal cup. You okay? Elia nodded slowly. Bad dream. He handed her the drink. We're almost at the station. What station? An old contact, someone I trust. He used to work in a science lab for the Trevax Empire. If there's a truth behind what you are, he'll know. I looked away. What if I don't want to know? Rain sat beside her. You need to. The people chasing you already know what you are. We don't. That makes you a target. It makes us blind. She didn't reply, but she understood. A few hours later, the ship landed on a cold, icy moon. Wind howled outside. Rain helped Elia into a thick coat. His name is Dr. Keld, quiet man, doesn't ask questions. But he's a genius with gene tech. Elia nodded. Is he human? Rain smiled. Used to be. The lab was hidden inside a frozen mountain. The doors opened slowly. A tall figure stood inside. Wrapped in metal robes, skin blue-gray, eyes half machine. Rain, the voice croaked. Still alive? Barely, Rain answered. I need a scan for her. Keld looked at Elia. He tilted his head, then said, She's not what she seems. Elia shivered. Keld led them inside. The lab was dark but filled with light blue. Machines and screens. Elia sat on a padded chair. A scanner hovered above her. Keld tapped on a panel. This will take only a minute. Lights moved over her body. Eh? Soft humming filled the air. Then the machine stopped. Keld stared at the screen. His eyes widened. He stepped back. Rain stood up. What is it? Keld whispered. She's not natural. Not fully. Her DNA has overlays, extra code. Like a clone? Rain asked. Keld shook his head. More than that. Someone wrote information into her blood. Hidden data, locked inside her cells. Elia's voice was weak. Why would anyone do that? Keld stared at her. Because she's a weapon, a living one. Elia froze. Rain stepped closer. Weapon? Explain. Keld pointed at the screen. Ancient tech. Forbidden in most galaxies. You take a child and grow them in secret, then hide technology inside them. Not metal, biocode, memory, programs, even command systems. She doesn't feel like a weapon, Rain said. She isn't yet, Keld replied. Something must activate her, a voice, a signal. A code word. When that happens, she changes. Elia whispered, I've heard voices since I was small. Keld's eyes darkened. Then it's already begun? Suddenly, the lights blinked. A low warning beeped on the screen. Rain pulled out his blaster. What was that? Keld tapped the console. No. Something's trying to connect to her. Remote signal from orbit. Elia held her head. It hurts. Someone's talking inside. Rain grabbed her shoulder. Stay with me. Focus, Keld shouted. Her system is reacting. If the signal completes, she might transform. Rain didn't wait. He aimed his blaster at the labs. Core computer and fired. Boom. Sparks flew. The signal cut off. Elia fell back. Unconscious. An hour later, she opened her eyes. Rain was sitting beside her, quiet. Elia looked around. Did I change? Rain smiled gently. You stayed you. Keld walked in. I wiped the lab. No more signals. But others will try again. Whoever made her will never stop. Rain stood. Then we find them first. Elia looked at both of them. You should have left me. Rain shook his head. You don't leave someone who's trying to find out who they are. She wiped her eyes. For the first time, not because of fear, but because someone believed in her. Far away, aboard a giant black ship, a voice spoke. She has awakened. The weapon is alive. Begin phase 2. Asterisk for the first time in days. It felt safe. The stars outside were still cold, but inside the small space station the lights were soft. The walls were clean. The air smelled like old coffee and warm metal. It wasn't perfect, but it was quiet. Rain stood in the control room, arms crossed. His friend Commander Thorne poured 2 cups of tea. Thorne smiled. You still take it black? Rain gave a tired nod. Like always. They sat together at the metal table, two war veterans surrounded by silence. "You look older," Thorn said. "You look slower," Rain replied. They both laughed. Outside the room, Elia walked alone down a hallway. She wore a dark jacket now. She had cut her hair short. She didn't look like a prisoner anymore. Other crew members stared at her as she passed, not with hate, but with curiosity. She was used to being looked at like a thing. Now they looked at her like a mystery. Thorn's station floated near a gas giant. It wasn't registered on any map. Rain had stayed here once during the war. It was a good hiding place. Rain trusted Thorn. They fought together, bled together. If there was one person Rain believed in, it was him. Later that evening, Elia joined them at the table. Thorn offered her food. She said, "Thank you." He smiled. "You've been through hell, I hear." Elia looked at Rain, then back at Thorn. "Still walking?" Thorn nodded. "Good." He stood up and turned on a screen. A hologram of a planet glowed above the table. "This," he said, "is your next move?" Rain leaned forward. "The planet is called Meraxis. Quiet, mostly jungle. But there's a lab hidden deep inside. Abandoned after the war. According to old files, it belonged to the same empire that made her." Elia's eyes narrowed. "You think they built me there?" Thorn nodded. "That's my guess." Rain looked thoughtful. "How do we get in?" "I'll give you my shuttle. Small, fast, stealth." Rain stood. "You do that for me?" Thorn placed a hand on his shoulder. "I'd do anything for you, brother." Midnight. The station was quiet. Elia couldn't sleep. She walked to the main window and stared out into the stars. They were beautiful, empty, silent. She felt something strange in her chest. Not fear, not pain, a thought. What if I wasn't made for war? She didn't know where the thought came from, but she wanted it to be true. Back in the command room, Thorn stood alone. A screen blinked in front of him. Incoming transmissiona. Shadowy face appeared, robed, hidden. The same voice Rain had once heard in his mind, now whispered through the speaker. "You've done well, Commander Thorn. The girl is in your hands. The payment will arrive soon." Thorn closed his eyes. He turned off the screen. He whispered to himself, "Forgive me, brother." The next morning, Rain and Elia prepared to leave. Rain checked the shuttle systems. Elia, "Pack supplies." Then dash an alarm. Red lights flash. Boom. An explosion hit the docking bay. Rain drew his blaster. "What the hell?" Doors opened. Soldiers stormed in. Not Thorn's crew. Unknown uniforms, black armor. No names. Elia froze. Rain pushed her behind cover. "Stay down," he fired back. One shot, two, then three. He yelled into the station. Radio. "Thorn, we're under attack. Where are you?" No answer, only static. Then a new voice came through. Thorn's. "I'm sorry, Rain. They offered too much." Rain's face went pale. Elia whispered, "He sold us." Rain's hands clenched into fists. "Damn it, Thorn." The station shook as more troops arrived. Rain grabbed Elia's hand. "We run, now." They moved through smoke-filled hallways. Sirens screamed. Blasts hit the walls. Finally, the emergency exit. Rain opened it. A long tunnel led to a backup hangar. One old ship left. They jumped inside. Rain powered it up. As the engines roared, a voice came through the radio again. It was Thorn. "You don't understand, Rain. That girl, she's not a person. She's a trigger. When she activates, whole planets will fall." Rain stared at the radio. Then turned it off. "She's not a weapon," he said. "She's a survivor." They flew into space. Behind them, the station burned. The friendship gone, the trust broken, but the mission still alive. And now it was personal. She woke up in a room that wasn't real. Soft lights, a quiet bed, white walls, no chains. There was music playing somewhere, gentle, like something from a childhood she never had. Elia sat up slowly. Everything felt too perfect. Too quiet. Then the voice came, calm, smooth, practiced. "Good morning, Elia. You're safe." Now a woman walked into the room, pale skin, silver eyes, wearing a white coat. "I'm Dr. Sarah," the woman said with a soft smile. "You've been through something hard, but you're with us now. You're home?" Elia blinked. "Where?" Am I? You're in the care of the Trivax Genetic Restoration Program? The words meant nothing, but her skin felt cold. Something was wrong. Far above, in deep orbit, Rain floated alone in the black void. His ship was hidden behind a dead satellite field. No lights, no movement. Only Rain, watching. Waiting. He stared at a massive white station below. The same kind used by the Trivax during the war. Medical labs, prisons, science bays, that's where they had taken her. He had tracked the signal for 2 days. Now, he had no more time. He pressed a button, a hologram. Avelia appeared, her face from the last video feed. He stared at it in silence. She saved herself once, he whispered. Now I save her. Inside the station, Elia walked calmly through the corridors. No guards, no locks, but something was off. Other girls walked past her, all looked like her. Same age. Same skin tone. Same dark hair, all of them smiled the same. Fake smile, all of them had the same empty eyes. Elia stopped. I want to leave, she said. A speaker in the wall answered, gentle and false. You are exactly where you belong. She felt it then, not fear, but fury. This wasn't safety. It was a cage without bars. In the shadows of the lower station. Rain was already inside. He had slipped in through a garbage chute, climbed through dead vents, and bypassed 3 security fields. Now he was in. He wore black armor from a stolen guard. One mission, one goal, find her. Get her out. Burn the rest, back in the lab. Dr. Sira stood with 2 masked officers. She's resisting the memory reprogramming, Sira said. Her brain keeps fighting it. The officer asked, shall we begin the activation? Sira nodded. Let her. Power wake, let her remember what she was built to do. Elia was strapped to a silver chair, not by chains, by light, her mind filled with noise, flashes of war, flashes of fire, a voice inside her head, screaming, you are the weapon, you are the code, you are the key. She screamed. Rain heard the scream. He was 1 floor below. He ran, blaster ready. Face cold, he broke through the guards like thunder. 1, 2, 3 shots. He found the door. And kicked it open. Elia looked up, her eyes glowing faintly silver. Rain stepped in through smoke and sparks. Let her go, he growled. Dr. Sira laughed. You're too late. She pressed a button. The machine behind Elia glowed red. Rain shot the console. Boom. The machine exploded in light. Elia collapsed. Rain ran to her. She looked up, barely awake. You came, she whispered. I said I would. He picked her up in his arms. She felt like fire and ice at once. But she was alive. Alarms rang. The station shook. Ryan ran with her down the corridor. More guards came. He didn't stop. He didn't miss. Behind them, the walls began to break. Sparks. Fire, flashing lights. Elia opened her eyes for a second. I felt it, she said softly. Felt what? My real memories. I wasn't born, I was designed. Rain held her tighter. Then whoever designed you made a mistake. They reached the emergency hangar. Rain's ship was there, called remotely. Waiting, he placed her inside, strapped her in. She looked at him. I felt something else too, she said. Something deep. What was it? Her voice shook. A command, waiting to be spoken. Rain stared at her. Do you remember the command? She nodded. But I don't want to say it. Rain smiled. Then don't. She nodded. Behind them. The station began to break apart. Rain took the controls. The ship launched. They blasted into space. Far behind them. The lab exploded, not by accident, but by the overload Rain caused. 1 station down. More to go. Back in the deep void. A council of masked figures watched the explosion from a dark chamber. One voice said, she resisted the code. Another replied, then we were wrong. She's not the weapon. The third whispered, no, she's worse. She's free. Asterisk, she stood at the edge of a cliff. And the stars were falling, not real stars, missiles, warships, fire. Above the green skies of Meraxis. The final fleet had arrived. They had come for her. Not to save her. To control her. Or destroy her. Elia closed. Her eyes, her hands glowed faintly with silver light. The storm inside her was waking again. But this time she didn't scream. She didn't run. She breathed and waited. Far below. In the jungle ruins of the forgotten lab, Rain was moving fast. The forest was burning behind him. Enemy troops were on the ground now, drones in the sky. A voice kept echoing from loudspeakers. "Surrender the girl! The code must be contained. The human will be erased." Rain didn't answer. He kept moving toward her. Earlier that morning, Elia had looked at him and asked a simple question. "If I become something dangerous, will you stop me?" Rain didn't smile. Didn't joke. He just said, "I'll remind you who you are, now." She was trying to remember. She looked at her own hands. "I am not a machine." She touched her chest. "I am not just code." She looked at the fire above. "I choose." Suddenly, the sky split open. A giant ship appeared, dark, silent, massive. The one they called the Architect had arrived. No one knew who or what the Architect was, but it had built her. And now it wanted her back. A voice echoed inside her head. "Speak the command. Unlock your design. Obey." She fell to her knees, shaking. Rain appeared beside her, panting, injured, but alive. He grabbed her shoulder. "Look at me." She looked up. Her eyes were glowing again, bright, powerful, inhuman, but she was crying. "I can hear it. The command, it's inside me." Rain leaned closer. "Then don't listen. I'm scared," she whispered. He nodded. "So am I." The Architect spoke again, now through the sky, through every speaker, through their bones. "Speak. The command, Elia, or all will burn." Rain stood and shouted toward the sky. "She's not yours anymore." There was silence, then a warning tone. 10 ships moved into position. Weapons armed. Elia looked at the stars, then closed her eyes, and whispered, "I refuse." At that moment, her body began to glow, not with violence, but with light, warm, bright, alive. Not silver. Gold. The system inside her twisted, trying to turn on, but something new happened. It broke. She wasn't obeying. She was changing it, rewriting her own code, rewriting herself. Rain shielded his eyes. Elia floated a few inches above the ground now. The ships tried to fire, but their weapons failed. The Architect's voice cracked. "Impossible. You were made to serve." Elia opened her eyes. "No," she said, "I was made, but I serve no one." She reached toward the sky. The ships above went dark, one by one, not destroyed, just powered down. She didn't kill anyone. She just took away their control. On the Architect's ship, chaos broke out. Panels sparked. Lights failed. One technician cried, "She's rewriting the command net. We can't stop it." The Architect stood still. For the first time it whispered, "She has become human." Back on the cliff, Elia landed gently. Her glow faded. Her hands were just hands again. Her eyes soft, brown, just a girl again. She turned to Rain. "It's over." He nodded. Double quotes, "Not just the fight," she said. "The program, the control. All of it." He looked at her for a long moment. "What now?" She smiled. "I think I finally get to decide." Weeks later, the galaxy was still confused. Some said a ghost weapon had appeared and vanished. Others said an empire's power grid had collapsed. But a few knew the truth. Whispers of a girl who broke her code, a human who walked away from power, and a soldier who stood by her side. Rain and Elia flew toward a quiet moon, where no war ever reached. She sat beside him in the cockpit, eating cold fruit and laughing at his old stories. Just a girl, just a man. No war. No chains. No command. Only choice.